back to playing as Mighty and Vector. I consider Vector to be the second best character to play because, well, I guess the true best character to play is Charmy, but he's so broken that the game is kind of boring playing as him. I'll show him off later, but Vector is the second best character to play for me. It's not really about the character that I choose him as a partner though, because it doesn't really matter what your partner is. It doesn't really matter what character your partner is, because it's not like you're controlling them. The only time you're controlling them is when you hit a power-up item that transforms you into them. And a power-up that I haven't talked about yet is the blue ring. Basically what it does is it makes it so that you only lose one ring when you get hit, no matter how many rings you have. And if you collect that ring, then you'll get all of your rings back. Which is pretty awesome. It's also pretty broken, like, we never see a power-up like that ever again. This game is easy, but it's not as easy as it could be. Oh, I hate this so much. I hate when I get stuck in one of those pointless things. And this is the invincibility thing. You really aren't going to need invincibility in this game. Like, it's pretty easy. Like, I can remember a grand total of one time when I had a... Well, this game has a few frustrating parts, but there's only one part of it, or... yeah, one part of it that is legitimately hard. Everything else is a pretty relaxing stroll in the park. And Vector's climbing is weird because you have to constantly hold down the climb button when you're climbing. It's sort of like, it's really weird because it's like if you had to constantly hold down the A button to keep holding a jar above your head in Zelda. And you have to use these levers, or is it pronounced levers? Anyways, you have to use these things to progress with the level. Techno Tower sees the least amount of changes in level design. Like it always starts out the same. But for the most part, I feel like you're going through different parts of every level every time, so it doesn't really feel that repetitive to me. The story of the game is pretty simple. Like, Eggman's bad, go stop him. That's literally it. And the soundtrack of the game, well, for the most part it's pretty good. But my major problem with it is that most of the level themes and most of the themes in the soundtrack, with the exception of the levels, are extremely short. Like, there's not enough to them, and so they get repetitive really easily. Like, one of my favorite songs in the game is the theme that plays in the hub world at dusk. But the problem is that there's not enough to it. So, after a loop, it gets really repetitive. There are plenty of songs that they're short, but they can still sound good no matter how long you listen to them. But most of the songs in the soundtrack of this game are so short that they end up getting irritating if you sit around to listen to them for too long. And they don't have different tracks for depending on what time of day you're at when you go to a level. Like, they don't have a Techno Tower at night theme. Which is, well, I guess it's good because it means they would have wasted development time on stuff other than gameplay if they had. But it still would have been a nice touch to at least have a slightly different remix for the different times of day. Another thing I'd like to say about the soundtrack is that every song in the game sounds like it has bells in it. Like, bells are the instrument of Knuckles' Chaotix. There's Batonic Bass is definitely the biggest example of this. How did I just phase through that wall? I completely forgot about this part of the game. Yeah, you actually can phase through walls. And this isn't exclusive to Knuckles Chaotix either. There's plenty of Sonic games where you can accidentally clip through the walls. I don't know how I managed to get out of that. I wouldn't have fallen into a bottomless pit if I hadn't gotten out of that. There aren't any bottomless pits at all in this game. Like, even Sonic CD had one bottomless pit. And it was infamous because of that. Because at that point in the game, you're trained to not realize that there are going to be bottomless pits. So if there's going to be few bottomless pits, like, I'm glad they at least keep it consistent. Not to mention the fact that this game has the kind of labyrinth level design where it's always difficult to figure out how exactly you're supposed to navigate through the level to beat it. Like, do you go left? Do you go right? There's too many dead ends. Like, if I could summarize my problem with the level design in one sentence, it would be that there's too many dead ends. Because I don't mind the fact that it's not all that challenging. I don't play a Sonic game to get frustrated. I play it to enjoy the fastness of it and enjoy the thrills. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like platforming. I love Sonic 1, and I love Sonic 1 8-bit. It's just that I usually play a Sonic game for the thrills. And this game is pretty fast. So I don't mind the fact that it's not all that challenging. If anything, it made it a lot easier for me to play it on the first playthrough and record it at the same time. You know, my biggest problem with the game, well, my biggest problem is that there's 5 acts for every level, and so the game pads itself out and starts to feel repetitive after a while. My second biggest problem is that it's too easy to get lost in the levels and constantly get stopped by dead ends. And yeah, I still don't like these special stages. And oh my god, the floor keeps on rising up and turning around, and yeah, this special stage can be kind of disorienting sometimes. Like, I don't know why people say that the special stages of Sonic 1 are disorienting. Like, I guess if you focus too much on the background and how it's moving, then sure. But I find this to be more of a problem. There are plenty of good songs in the soundtrack, though. Like, I mentioned before that Botanic Bass is easily my favorite song in the game. And I like Door into Summer. Like, it's pretty long and it's pretty cheerful. And, well, I haven't seen it yet, and you won't for quite a while, thankfully. But Amazing Arena, it has this mystical, ancient theme to it. I'll talk about that later. Like, I want to save talking about Amazing Arena until we actually get there. The problem I have with the soundtrack of the game is that for the most part, it's too short and repetitive. But the level themes are pretty alright. Techno Tower's theme I can forget pretty easily. It's alright to listen to. Marine Madness has an alright theme as well. And then there's Speed Slider. It has a good theme too. And Speed Slider is definitely an example of bells. And how are you supposed to know that you can keep on going right and you won't fall off the edge? How are you supposed to know that that's a tube that you can walk on all parts of it? How are you supposed to know that's not just a platform like this? This is part of why I refuse to even touch the Lost World. Because you have no way of knowing whether you're going to walk off the platform and fall off the edge, or if you're walking on one of those tubes that turns around when you... This is so disorienting. I just hate it when I can't see what I'm supposed to get because of the camera. Like, they gave me no indication that I could just keep on going to the right and not fall off. But anyways, the bell is definitely the iconic instrument of Knuckles Chaotix. Like there's Botanic Bass, and there's Speed Slider and Door into Summer. Those are definitely like bell songs. And obviously it's not an actual bell because it's a Genesis game. It's all imitations of instruments, but still. It's kind of hard to describe what instrument is supposed to be playing when you're hearing it off a Genesis sound chip. And I hate this part. Like, you can't see what's behind you when you're forced to walk backwards when the bumpers hit you. How was I supposed to not fall off the edge there? When you walk into a wall, then you get bounced back by it like you hit a bumper. But you don't get bounced back as far as you would if you hit a bumper. And it's good that you get bounced back because it would really suck if you could walk into a wall and then you would get stopped. But because you're forced to always be moving forwards in the special stages, you would be trapped in an unwinnable situation where you would always be walking forwards into a wall and you wouldn't be able to get out of it. And that can actually happen in this game. Like, every time you get bounced backwards, you have a decreasing amount of momentum. Like, you move slower every time. So if you're moving slowly enough and you're stuck walking into a wall, you can actually make the special stage unwinnable. I saw that happen to Some Call Me Johnny in the Hellfire Con Sonic-a-thon playthrough of this game. Like, he was playing as Bomb in a special stage. Because, you can actually throw your partners into the special rings and play through the special stages as your partner. That's pretty cool. But anyways, he was playing as Bomb in a special stage, and he ran into a wall when he was moving too slowly, and he just got stuck walking into that wall, and he couldn't do anything. So that's gotta be a glitch. There's no way that they would program the game intentionally to be like that. As you can see, Techno Tower changes the least of any level. The beginning is always the same. I was moving so fast there that I was literally running on the wall for longer than I should. That's pretty awesome. Like, again, Mighty is the fastest character in the game. And he can jump up walls so fast. Like, you jump on a wall and then you hold A and you hold up an A and you just constantly mash the A button. And you can jump up walls faster than any other character in the game. Like, every other character takes forever to climb up walls. And Vector isn't the only character who has awkward climbing controls. Oh, I hate that. Like, he locked on to me, and then just missiles keep on shooting at me. But again, even if I get hit here without rings, it's not a big deal because I just lose my partner, and then I can just wait for him to respawn or collect rings. It's really no big deal. But SBO's climb controls are awkward too because, just like with Vector, you have to hold down the A button when you're climbing on walls, or you'll jump off them. And I like how you can pick up your partner and throw him upwards so that he can bring you up to higher routes. And you can also throw your partner at enemies and damage them that way. Different characters will throw their partners at different heights. Charmy is easily the worst at throwing partners in the whole entire game. He barely throws the partners at all. Which really sucks because there are some boss fights that require you to throw your partner. So it's really helpful sometimes there's a reason that I play as Mighty for most of the game. You don't throw your partner very far when you're throwing him. But it is still nice that you can throw him up to higher routes and get pulled there yourself. So now we've beaten Techno Tower again. And we're almost done it. Like, pretty soon we'll never see it again. Like, I don't mind playing through that level. It's just that it doesn't really change all that much. And I find this sound effect really annoying, repetitive. See you in the next part.